Welcome to the Meltzone Podcast from March 16th, 2019. I'm still a bit sick.
And I'm Stefan. And welcome to the Meltzone Podcast. On today's podcast, Tom will talk about his visit of Make Munich that he also already made 2 videos on, and I'm quite jealous or envious of the projects he has seen there.
It was 3 videos.
On the topic of expos and meetups, MRRF is going to be in 2 weeks, and we are both going to be there. Probably also recording our next episode podcast on the way there, or probably on the way back in the car. I've currently been experimenting a little bit with threaded inserts, and there will be a video coming up there. So I'll talk a little bit about what my experience has already been there. And then on the news section, the E3D Supervolcano is finally out, a Hotend that can melt 10 times the material as a standard E3D V6 Hotend for your new crazy big parts.
Yeah, there still seems to be a bit of disagreement whether it's 10 or 11 times. Also, Fiat has announced a customizable car that has 3D printed add-ons that you can use to make the car your own. There's a quick update on the filament frenzy and artillery 3D photo stealing false advertising thing. In other news, there's been a data leak by Gearbest and an update on Article 13 on whether or not YouTube is going to get banned. And the big topic of this week's episode: how can you make money with 3D printing today? What are the avenues you can go down and should not go down when it comes to earning some money or earning a living with 3D printing and maker services?
So you have been to Make Munich, like 1.5. I have not been there.
You missed it.
I was too shy.
Well, for you, it's a 2-hour drive, right?
It's a 2-hour drive. Where has it actually been? Because I have seen the pictures and it kind of reminded me of one of these old industrial places where I was listening to a concert a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's typically a concert hall. It's the Zenit in Munich. So that is something that is typically used as, you know, for concerts, and you do definitely see that. Yeah. But yeah, it's been there for a few years. It's a great venue. You've probably seen some of the things that the Make Munich had, right? I
have seen your videos, and I wanted to get each of these items, to be honest. No, the PCB mill was looking so great. The PCBs looked awesome. The 3D scanner was something great, and the shaper is just a really cool tool.
Yeah. I guess the overall trend that I was noticing was that 3D printing, a few years ago, or 3 years ago or so, 3D printing was half of the Make Munich. Half of the event. And I think it was the same at other maker fairs. Though again, the Make Munich is not a maker fair because Maker Fair is a brand of Make magazine or the Maker Media. But yeah, the Make Munich. And it's great to see that 3D printing is now just a tool for people that they use. There were so many booths there that had nothing to do with 3D printing, as in they were not showing off a machine or a business that was running around that. They were just using 3D printed parts that they made. That I think is amazing.
Yeah, that is really cool because, as you've just said, maker fairs used to be just showing the latest 3D printers. Now it's showing things that you can, use to manufacture them with 3D printers. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so with the shaper, so I think that was my highlight, even though not everyone seems to get the shaper, as in to understand what the shaper is about. Not everyone seems to get it. And I recognize that, there's the tape that's like $18 per spool, which for tape apparently is not that expensive. And when you consider how much wood that is good for, like your wood also costs something, and that typically is way more than an $18 roll of tape. That, first of all, the machine itself is $2,500. I'm not sure how much it's going to be in Europe. It is coming to Europe. They are working on that. But yeah, that price tag seems to be quite hard to swallow for a few. But then again, if you look at how much a CNC mill is. Even one, if you look at a solid desktop router, portal router, that can handle maybe like 80 by a meter, 80 centimeters by a meter. That is easily 2,500 euros.
Yeah, it's definitely. And this thing is so nicely sizable. You can use it for like small parts, but if you want to like CNC out a door or something like that,
totally,
it's totally possible with it.
And the great thing is, I think it's much more versatile than a CNC router is when it comes to, you know, well, okay, it's still a router. It still needs to ride on your workpiece. So some geometries where you have to route out huge pockets are not going to work because your router is going to drop in and tilt. But it can do much larger things. The accuracy looked extremely good for just being an optical system. The mates that we're showing, it's in the video as well, where they have like finger joints.
Yeah,
those fit really well. And the thing is also, it's so much easier to use than a CNC. I mean, if you've ever done the workflow through Fusion, try explaining that to like a carpenter. Try showing them, hey, you know, you just make this drawing in Fusion and you do this cam and you set the feed. And they're like, what?
So you can use the shaper to do some like simple shapes, and also use their web service that they have to download a couple of things and, well, really use that. But isn't it still the case that you only get most of the potential out of that machine if you know how to use like Fusion 360 or Inkscape or Illustrator?
It's so using those tools to create the SVGs, the vector files, the design files for that, surely is like the top high-end application for that. If you want to have really complex shapes that you want to route out. But the thing is, the amount of designing that you can do on the machine itself. The screen was quite hard to see in the video, but you basically get either a grid or a freehanding version where you can draw out patterns and shapes on your actual object, and then it routes those out perfectly. So you can perfectly size those on a grid, for example, and reuse them and just reapply them everywhere. Of course, that does sound like using a traditional router with a follower bit, kind of. But there's so much more that you can do with a computer supported tool. Plus, the thing is also with the online library. Now, again, I don't know how much there's already in there. I don't know how much manufacturers have already worked with them to get like what they were showing, that flip out hinge that was just perfectly routed in, or door hinges and that sort of thing. If that fills up, that can be amazing, because you just have your off-the-shelf parts from manufacturer X, and you get the perfect fit on the shaper, and you just plop it down, you route it out, and it's a perfect fit every time. That can be quite amazing. Yeah,
I imagine that. And it's way easier to set up like a CNC router, because you don't need to do the cam on your own and everything that is connected there. What I was wondering, so the guy you've been talking to also said that it is capable of routing metals. Have you seen something like that?
I've not seen the Shaper Origin. That's the full product name. Shaper is the company, Shaper Tools. I've not seen it route metal in person, but they do claim on their website that it routes aluminum.
Oh, okay.
I mean, which for a handheld tool, I think that's the biggest limiting factor. I don't think like the spindle or the tools or anything are limited. It's just how steadily you can hold the machine over a piece of aluminum, because you do generate cutting forces.
Yeah.
The computer correction, of course, does help with that a lot. Aluminum is probably pushing it, though. If a US company says you can do something, you can probably do it, because they're going to get sued if they're not living up to their promises.
Yeah, I can think that. And well, routing aluminum is probably not the application you would usually use such a machine for.
But it's that nice extension of your workable materials where it's not just woods, because everything else is a flammable, moisture-sensitive, non-conductive material, as in plywoods or hardwoods or anything. As soon as you have aluminum, you have like a whole different grade and category of materials that you have. Even though it's just aluminum, it's not steel, it's not anything fancy, but still. Yeah.
Pretty nice machine, yeah.
I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to try one out here. The thing is always I'm kind of waiting for the product to be more widely available. It's been out in the US for a while, but I kind of want it to be out in the EU as well. So actually, at the time it comes out in the EU, it might also be out in Britain if they're still out in the EU. If not, then that's going to be a different story. What a tragic story. Yeah. Anyways, I'm hoping to get a shaper at some point. Yeah. I'm still fascinated by like the experience. It's hard to convey in words and in video how I don't want to say magic, but how fantastic it feels. You have that tool and you move it roughly in the right shape, and it corrects, and you get a perfect fit in the end. It's quite something. But
it only does 2.5 axis or 2.5D CNCing. Is there also a way to do like full 3D CNC with using like an STL?
So currently it's only SVG, so I don't think you can get an actual like full 3D smooth top pattern out of it. Though they are saying that you can like engrave coins from the size. And the thing is the actuation range on the tool itself, because I mean the router, the actual spindle, let's put it like that. The actual spindle moves around. It has 30 millimeters diameter, and it goes, of course, the full Z depth. So if you have something that is that size of a coin, I think it could autonomously 3D engrave it, and you just hold it in place for the entire duration. That could technically be something that could be done, but I don't think they're implementing it.
Okay.
Or have implemented it.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so you've also been, well, playing around with your own PCBs lately. The PCB router they showed there, it was amazing to see what kind of details they were able to make.
Yeah, the Ant CNC, Ant compact CNC. Fascinating. Out of a belt-driven Core XY system. I think that they've done a great job. They kept saying like it's about $300 euros or something to build, but I think a lot of that goes into just making it precise and kind of run out free enough to be able to mill those fine traces and what they were showing as far as what they can achieve with that machine was absolutely fantastic.
But the main difference in comparison to what you have already been doing is that they use a proper chuck for better accuracy, for less runout, and the like 3-dimensional leveling they perform, or is it something else?
I think it's a combination of things. So I've routed on the CNC, I guess I should mispronounce it. Which has lead screws, so lead screws always have backlash, even though they use like backlash compensating, which is just bullshit. It's a little puny spring. So the NCNC is fully belt driven, which is a very low backlash system by nature. That is a huge bit, and it doesn't use like a massive trim router to do it. So what I have on the CNC is. Is basically a crude woodworking tool.
Yeah.
The stock collet is pretty good, but then you have to use an adapter collet to use finer bits, and it just creates a ton of runout, and it's just not made for these fine things. And on the NCNC, they have like a custom-made spindle. So as in not just the spindle knot is in the motor, but the actual guiding of your spindle. And they have a super tiny ER8 chuck, which is a collet chuck, and those typically are very precise when it comes to clamping something with little runout. So,
well, if you think about, you have a router with the capability of 1 kilowatt in there, and you need for like routing 1 watt, 5 watts. I don't know. It's kind of an overkill.
Yeah, and of course, you also mentioned leveling. Yes, they. So the fascinating thing about this is a lot of the awesomeness of the machine is being done through the software, and that is BCNC. That's an open source software that they're using for this. So that's handling the leveling through an electrical probe. So that's just being stuck onto your tool, and it makes contact with the PCB. Very simple stuff. But it also does optical tracking. If you put a camera on there, you can actually track individual through holes, basically, and align a double-sided PCB or board that way. So that's quite nice.
I was so much thinking I want to have one of these.
Just build one. Well, okay, they don't have the BOM out yet. They're still working on polishing up their project.
But it's going to be open source in the next couple of months?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Release early, release often, release unfinished stuff, preferably. They're not doing that. They're kind of making sure that it's done first. But yeah, it is open source. I think some files you can already download as far as 3D printed files. It's just the full BOM and the full exact components that you're supposed to use aren't out there yet.
Okay. Do you think it's maybe possible to just mod a normal old 3D printer and just use their software?
For sure. Well, okay, the thing is, BCNC is not their software. It's an open source software that's already out there. So, for sure.
Because that would make things way easier. So if you only use like the capabilities of the soft and firmware and just strap a smaller router, Dremel thing, whatever, on your 3D printer, that might make that a really cheap alternative instead of like recreating the whole motion system.
Yeah. Though the idea with the CNC is that it's a tool made for the job. So it's a tool that just does PCBs and does PCBs really well. I've converted a 3D printer to a router or a mill, the Mendelmax 3. And I put like one of those 400 watt ER11, which is just a motor with a chuck screwed on there. I've used that. I've had to reinforce the frame, or to be more accurate, my Padawan has that machine right now. He's been reinforcing the frame to make it work, because the goal with that machine was to route aluminum.
Yeah.
The Mendelmax has always been, this is a 3D printer, but it's like actually a super overbuilt machine. So I was like, okay, let's put it to the test then. So yeah, it's not a particularly awesome machine, though I'm sure if you use lighter components, so if you don't use that 1 kilo spindle with the ER11 chuck, but use something like what they're doing on the CNC, which is a small, tiny quadcopter brushless motor, then yeah, you could probably do pretty much anything on a 3D printer as well.
Cool. Will we be seeing anything else from Make Munich?
No.
I'm
done.
So then, speaking of expositions and maker fairs and everything that is connected to that, MRRF's going to be in 2 weeks. So
yeah, shit.
2 weeks from now.
In fact, in 2 weeks, we are going to be in...
We are somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, probably at that time of recording.
Yeah, somewhere in the North American tundra. Yeah, MRRF is just such a fascinating event because it's in Goshen, which has like a university or something. It has a campus, but it's like you're just nowhere. You're 3 hours away from every major town. And yet there's like a bunch of people super enthusiastic about 3D printing.
Yeah,
it's great.
I'm really looking forward to. So I'm kind of a bit nervous, I have to be really honest. But I think it's gonna work out in the end. It's just so many people there. Many probably know you. You probably don't know kind of anybody.
Yeah.
But that's just how it is. You have been releasing your ground rules this week, and I highly appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, it's these sort of fairs, whether it's MRRF, whether it's maker fairs, are full of socially awkward people, me included. And not everyone knows like a nonchalant way of like talking to someone and like sliding into a conversation. So you get a lot of awkward encounters. It's just the nature of things. None of them are in bad spirit, they all are done with the best of intentions. But sometimes it's just like, you think like, dude, please, can we please not shake hands in the bathroom? Yeah. So yeah, what I did is just, write out on Twitter, like, hey, okay, these things, please, like, maybe if you read through this, keep in mind, like, if I'm holding up a camera, please don't disturb me while I'm working. I don't want to shake hands in the bathroom. That's just, no, sorry. Just to make the event a bit more relaxed and to kind of tell people what to expect, because it does get stressy.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that.
And I don't want to sound like a diva, obviously. Guys, please, if you see me and if I'm just casually walking around, please still do approach me. No handshakes. You are gonna get a pat on the back if you're into that. But yeah,
hygienic fist bump.
Fist bump, the elbow bump.
The elbow bump.
Something that is
okay.
That it is coming around. I've not seen it used anywhere yet, but maybe we can establish that.
Yeah, I think, well, since I always want to be polite, I think I'll still maybe get in a handshake or two, but I have already been purchasing some hand sanitizer to carry around. It's not like, well, yeah, it's the thing. It's still winter, spring is starting.
Yeah. And I mean, people have been saying, oh yeah, if you don't like handshakes, just learn to wash your hands. And I'm like, dude, if on the way to the bathroom, I shake hands with 20 people and on the way back, there's another 20 people waiting on me. Like, washing hands doesn't do a whole lot there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm just recovering from being sick from Make Munich. I don't want to get into the next thing. And it's every event I walk out feeling fine, but then like 2 or 3 days later, it's like body goes into shutdown.
Yes.
But should we record our next episode from MRRF?
Yeah.
Or from somewhere?
You have already been suggesting maybe recording it on our way home. So we're going to be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning we'll drive back to Chicago. Yeah. So there is a 3-hour drive waiting for some entertainment.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, US speed limits, you're not driving super fast, like you're not going to have a ton of noise in the car. Well, we got to see what kind of car they're going to give me. I might need to ask for an upgrade. We'll see what we get.
I'll pay for the upgrade. You already paid like the standard price, so...
We are going to need to see about the toll roads though, because like the cheaper cars typically don't come with a toll road transponder, and like paying that at the booth is like a super hassle. And typically they're like, oh yeah, here's like a $20 upgrade and you have a Mustang. That's what happened to me when I drove out to Brook after the Bay Area Maker Fair.
But then I'm not sure if we will be able to record anything if we have the muscle car sound in the background all of the time.
Yeah, true. But yeah, maybe in the car we can record our fresh thoughts on the event.
If we still have a voice.
Oh yeah, right. But there is going to be coverage from MRRF for sure. What I'm planning on is just doing a walk around with the phone out, lav mic on me, obviously, and being able to show people around live on YouTube. Supposedly, there's going to be a streamer-specific Wi-Fi at MRRF.
Cool.
So I'm looking forward to that. So that's something that I want to do Saturday morning, just to get like people's opinion on what I should look into, what gets people excited. And then, of course, I'm going to be shooting videos, and hopefully you're going to be helping me a bit with that, if you're up for it.
Definitely. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if I'll be filming something, well, like interviews on my own. I don't know if I really feel comfortable doing that, but
you'll be fine.
We'll see. I might need to get into the spirit. But yeah, we'll see. I think I'll still be doing something like a vlog, or at least showing the things that really interested me.
Here you're saying you're not comfortable with doing interviews, and yet you're comfortable vlogging. That's one of the most awkward things to do in public, I think. Walking around with the camera, talking to it like, hey,
Well, maybe then vlogging is like the wrong name for that, but like just filming a couple of interesting things and doing some B-roll and talking about that in a voiceover later. we'll see. We'll see. I'm not a huge fan of planning, so I'll just take everything with me and see how it turns out. Did you actually get a special SIM or a special plan for being in the US, or?
I will not get anything. I've looked into what you can get. I think T-Mobile has a few offerings. It's like a traveler's prepaid thing that is $45 whenever you activate it, and you get like 2 gigs of data or something. But I don't know. Last year was fine, just loading the Google Maps data onto my phone and navigating with that. And then you have Wi-Fi at the hotel, you have Wi-Fi at the airport, you have Wi-Fi at the event. It's all right. I don't think I'll be needing much mobile data.
And navigating on US roads is pretty simple.
Yeah, on the entire route from the Chicago airport to Goshen, I think it's like 5 or 6 turns you have to take. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, for you listeners from the US or somewhere, roaming for Germans in non-EU countries is ridiculously expensive. It's like 1 or 2 euros per megabyte of data used, plus €50 per minute of outgoing calls. It is ridiculous. So I just turn off data completely. I don't make phone calls. I just have the phone in case I need to dial 911. That's all I use it for. And of course, offline Google Maps.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to 2 weeks. So it's going to be...
Yeah, it's going to be great.
It's going to be great, yeah.
It's going to be exhausting. I mean, make no mistake.
I try to relax for the next 2 weeks that I have full power to be there for 3 days. I need to see how I can, or how my voice can handle that, because usually after like talking for an hour or 2, my throat gets so sore. But yeah, I'm gonna get something to, how do you say bonbons in English? Something to
cough drops, I guess.
Cough drops.
No, is that the thing you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Cough drops. Yeah, cough drops.
Cough drops. Sure. Yeah, I'll get some really nice cough drops to get my voice really like oiled.
Yeah, this episode is sponsored by water. Drink more, guys. Stay hydrated. I'm definitely going to bring this thing. I'm going to bring a carabiner and just carry it around in my backpack. 1 liter of water. Well, I guess technically it's like 984 milliliters because this is a US size. But big water bottle. That's something for sure.
Yeah.
All right. One more thing you have actually been working on. By the way, I feel like we're actually getting into the podcast flow where we can just talk about things.
Yeah, but we are already 20 minutes in, 25 minutes in, so
and we've not even made it through projects. We've not even made it into the news section. Shit. You've been working with threaded inserts.
I've been working with threaded inserts. This has been on my list for a very long time, but I never really got to it. And just a couple of weeks, a viewer wrote me, "Hey, wouldn't it be great if you did a video on threaded inserts?" And I thought, come on, let's just purchase some threaded inserts and see how they perform. So I did a bit of research, how they are usually used, how they are, well, specified. So like length, knurling and everything. Yeah. And I did a couple of tests on the pull-out strength and the torque-out strength of threaded inserts and compare them to other methods that you can use to add threads into your part. So like really 3D printing model threads in parts, which surprisingly works really well. Only the STLs get so huge.
True. True. And print times do increase.
Yeah. But it was okay, actually. Then like cutting threads into parts with a tab, and what is also often been done, just like directly using a screw and put it into your 3D printed part. And the results are pretty interesting. I haven't finished all of the tests so far. I actually was hoping to release the video this week, but just since everything is so busy at the moment. I just didn't finish it, and I hope that it will be online next weekend. So look out for that.
Yeah. Any teaser, any preemptive results? Is it worth using a threaded insert in most cases?
So far, the results of the threaded inserts were the best, but they are not really that much better than, for example, like 3D printing threads. So depending on the application, yeah, it depends if it's really worth using these inserts. And well, I have been purchasing mine here in Germany, and they have been pretty expensive.
Yeah, I've been getting the Chinese ones, which probably grab less well into the plastic because the profile is a bit different on the outside.
Yeah, they are. So threaded inserts and screwing parts together is a huge topic, and I won't be covering everything. And I already know the comments. Oh, why haven't you checked this? And you should have done it that way. Yeah, if people are interested, I'll probably make another video about how to thread parts together. What is the best way? What types of knurling there can be on threaded inserts? What's the difference of long threaded inserts to short threaded inserts? What is the best temperature to use on your soldering iron for putting them into your pod, and everything which is connected to that? It's a huge topic. So this is a start, and I think it's pretty interesting. I haven't really found any test data on that where you can, like, in the end say, okay, this is better than that, and this is my application, so I should use this procedure. So I hope and I think people will be liking that.
For sure. One last question. Have you been using like thread adapters, like what you see with 3/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch for the camera threads, those inserts, and screwing those into a coarser thread, or the helicoil inserts?
Yeah. I haven't been using those. These are the ones you can, for example, also get in the hardware store, at least where I'm living. Also the threads the metal inserts you put into wood, they might also be something which is really suitable for that. This is something for just another video, I think. Really seeing what different techniques there are and what is the best thing to use, what is the cheapest. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah,
I need to start somewhere. Yeah,
definitely.
But I have been seeing that you have also been using threaded inserts on your PCB painting machine.
Oh yes. I was going to say, oh, cool transition, but this is not what we're talking about. Okay. Yeah, I've been using just the threaded insert, the M3. No, originally it was M3, and then I stepped it up to like M5 or something on the pen mount, just because I screwed up the assembly on that royally. So yeah, that's those cheapo ones. And the design wasn't made for it. I just straight drilled through 3D printed parts, so through infill and all as well. Held up decently enough, well enough for the application to clamp down a felt tip pen, for sure. Yeah, the other thing where I have been dealing with threads is this thing that I just got ready to shoot a video on. Audio listeners, I'm holding up a speaker kind of shape thing, what looks like an extension tube with threads on the inside. And this is going to go live next week as a video, as an educational 3D printed speaker experimentation kit. I still need to come up with a catchy name, preferably with like a 3 or a 4 in it. But yeah, I just started designing this thing like last week, and I was like, it would be cool if something like this existed. So it's like a screwed together kit that has different drivers, different lengths of speaker housing, different reflex ports with different lengths. Passive membranes, and you can all screw it together and combine it, and it just makes different speakers, and you can take a listen how they sound, and you can learn about why a bass reflex port is basically the same as passive membrane, and why one is better than the other, those sort of things.
So is it really for you an educational like project, or do you also aim towards the guys who want to make their own audio system and like print a high toner and a subwoofer out on their own and then combine it however they would like.
So the thing with these is, I mean, you can make a pretty decent speaker out of these if you use the right drivers and all, but the intention, first of all, is to just being able to learn about how these things interact and how they work. Again, if you screw them together tightly, because these are all just screwed together segments, if you screw them together tightly, it is a really decent speaker. The idea is also that I don't have the insert here, that you can replace one of these segments with, for example, a segment that has a lithium battery, Bluetooth receiver and all that, and you can screw that in as a segment and have a Bluetooth speaker. It's not really intended for that, though it can for sure be used for that. The goal is just to put something out there that, for example, if you have a workshop with, I don't know, 12 plus year old kids, I mean, I'm interested in this sort of stuff. Print a few of these. These are super cheap. These are, plastic is $5 or $10. And the components themselves are also extremely cheap. These are like €1 per driver. So you can have per participant like 15 euros worth of parts, and then you can experiment with these things and just learn about how it works. And if someone at home, is considering, learning about speakers or building something, printing something, this can be a prototyping solution to just see, okay, what sort of volume do I need in my speaker? What sort of port works with this driver? What driver works better with what I want? So, yeah.
Cool. But at the moment, they are all passive. Do I see a 3.5 millimeter jack next to the driver?
That's a cool thing, actually. So these small speakers, these are like 3-watt speakers. You can actually drive them with your phone. You just plug in your headphone to headphone cable. And I mean, they're not the loudest, but they work. You can power them off with that. But of course, you can also plug in a small amplifier. The thing is, though, with these 3-watt drivers, it's extremely easy to just blow them up, to give them too much power, and they're pretty sensitive when it comes to overheating. So yeah, that can be an upgrade or an option to use them with. And of course, I did show that DSP board that I milled out. That is, I mean, that was built for this class of speaker. I had originally printed like a fixed speaker that I glued one of these in and had the bass reflex port as part of the housing. And there was no modularity with that. So that's why these exist. But of course, that DSP and amplifier project can also be used with these.
Yeah, I think that would make a really interesting project. There is like an open source alternative to the Sonos boxes out there. I don't know how it's called, where you basically strap an amplifier board on a Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi runs an operating system that has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capability, and then you can set up your own speakers in a similar way than the Sonos boxes do. I don't know. Do you know that? Or do you know this project?
I do not know about that project. Isn't Sonos the one that got a ton of flack for like changing their usability in terms of service or something?
I don't know. Well, the nice thing with the Sonos boxes is that they look pretty nice. You can put them anywhere, and they are really well connected to each other. So, but there is an open source project out there. If anybody knows the name of it, just put it down there. You basically use a Raspberry Pi with, how is the amplifier board called? Something with B.
I mean, these simple amplifier boards, you can get any one of those. They're pretty good.
Anyways, and then you, connect a speaker to it. You could maybe even put the Raspberry Pi and everything into your enclosure, and then you have your DIY Sonos box that is way cheaper and open source.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool project. I still like my Bluetooth headphones. Oh, we don't have a gadget of the week.
Yeah, I was also thinking about that today when I was out in the yard, but besides a magnetic stirrer, I didn't really buy something.
Yeah, we should reintroduce that when we get back from MRRF.
Yeah.
Right. Should we move on to the news?
Yes, I think.
Into our first real segment. 41 minutes into the recording.
Yeah. E3D Supervolcano.
Yeah, it's out. Finally. You can buy it.
So for everyone who doesn't know the Supervolcano, there is the E3D Volcano, which is like the longer version of the heater block and you have longer nozzles. The idea behind that is that you give the material more time that it melts. So in the end, you can have more throughput of material. The Supervolcano is the volcano on steroids. So it's like twice or even 3 times the length. It just looks crazy. And it is designed to have a ridiculous amount of material flow out of it. If you have seen the blog post or the Twitter posts from E3D, you can, I don't know, basically put like 30, 40, 50 times more material through that nozzle in comparison to a standard V6 Hotend. Am I right there?
That much? Wow.
Or am I wrong there, or is it just a factor of 10?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds more like it because the heater block is only like that much longer. Though the difference is not just in length, it's also in girth where it matters. No, it's actually copper as well instead of aluminum. The standard block is just aluminum. You can get the upgraded copper block, but the Supervolcano is only available in copper.
Do you know why this is the case?
For evenness, and also I believe that they were thinking about like high temperature applications where you do kind of need the copper. Though.
Okay, so we have a factor of 10 there. Sorry.
11 times the volumetric is what the That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You do get more length of you get a longer heated zone, and you get a 1.4 millimeter nozzle if you want it.
Do you know if it's still able to use 1.75 millimeter filament, or does that only work? Okay.
Yeah.
And this thing would probably be able to even handle like 2 millimeter nozzle sizes if you are using 3 millimeter filament.
Even with 1.75, I think it can handle it, because the problem with the shorter ones is if you go too fast, at some point you just plop it through, and now it doesn't have contact anymore.
Yeah,
with a heater, with a zone that long, I think it does actually heat up 1.75 either way.
I think that as well. Pretty interesting. I have been thinking for quite a while to get some kind of a big printer to print out chairs and things like that. But the question is always what kind of motion system you're using. But the Supervolcano has been on the hang printer at E3D this Christmas, wasn't it? Or something like that.
I think it was a bit earlier than that, yeah. They did build a hang printer with Torben there, and they did use a Supervolcano prototype on that printer. And I think that is pretty much the perfect motion platform. Or, let me put it the other way around. The Supervolcano is the perfect hotend for the hang printer. I think the Supervolcano could definitely work on something like a CR10 or a, that size printer if you want really, really fast prints.
Yeah. It looks really interesting. But yeah, I use a Volcano hotend on like one of my CR10s, and for some applications, if you have higher layer heights, it is something that is working pretty well. And I also have the impression that layers tend to adhere better together just because the material is more uniformly melted, especially if you're using higher feed rates.
Yeah, it might not just be that it's more uniformly melted. It might also that it's just more heated up in general.
Yeah.
Because it had more time to dwell inside the heated zone, and just by nature it gets more heat transferred into it. Next one, Fiat has announced a 3D printable, individualizable car concept, which I think is horrendously ugly. So I sure hope you can print a lot for that. If you scroll down on the article and look at the YouTube thumbnail, that thing is God, I like Fiat, but this one is
I don't think it looks too bad. I'm also not a huge fan of the BMW i3, and
oh, I love that thing. Oh, here we go.
I don't
but
think
you drive Audi, so that's fine.
Yeah, I drive Audi. No, I drive a Volkswagen.
Well, all the same. It's all the same car.
You're just saying that because you're kind of living like 5 miles to the next BMW plant.
Yeah, sure. They grow on trees here. Yeah, but the Fiat.
Yeah, the Fiat. It's a replacement, or it's in the spirit of the Fiat Panda, I think. What I've heard. Was that right?
It's the same size. It's so they're calling it the 120, so the 120.
Okay.
Basically the 120. They do have the 500 and so on. And I guess it's the same size as the Panda. And right now is it actually, they're saying they've announced it, but is it just it's a concept?
It's a concept car, yeah.
But okay, so let's actually get into why this is kind of relevant here. What they're saying is they have 114 accessory parts between sound, dashboard, door, storage compartments, seating or padding that you can buy or 3D print yourself. So
okay.
Yourself, yeah, you can apparently download the files for it and customize it. Of course, it's also an EV and it has swappable batteries and upgradable stuff and all that jazz. But yeah, they're kind of. It looks like they're embracing 3D printing as something that people can use to customize their cars, which I think is awesome.
I have seen a brief video about the car, and it has kind of a nice dashboard with lots of holes in there. So I think this makes it suitable for this customization. The exterior parts, I think, are not 3D printable, or are they? Ah, yeah, they are. Multifunction. Ah, no, the armrests and things like these. Yeah, it's probably a nice gimmick. Who knows if that's coming out? The question is how many would really use that, and how many would really be happy with the quality of these parts in the end. And if you want to have high quality printed out parts, you need SLS parts in the end, and these machines are so expensive that only few have access to it, and it's quite expensive to get yourself SLS prints made from shapeways or things like that.
True. I don't know. Maybe the dealerships can be integrated into this if it's going to be a larger thing. Though I guess what it allows Fiat to do is just to experiment and to see what people are going to like. Because the thing is, if you have variations in a car, if you have 114 additional variations, that kind of comes out to a huge mess as far as making sure everything fits together, as far as, testing everything. And with that, they can just say, yeah, here, customer can print this. We don't have anything to do with it. They made it. So that you know how it is with automotive. There's a huge overhead just in the simplest of things. So yeah, it's nice. At least it's not hey, we 3D printed a car or we 3D printed a motorcycle news headline where it's like, oh yeah, we printed a motorcycle frame and then we mounted all standard hardware to it. Isn't that fantastic? We made a 3D printed motorcycle. Yeah, at least it's not one of those. Just nice to see.
Yeah.
Community drama.
So we've been talking about that last podcast, which was already 3 weeks ago, that Artillery 3D was using like pictures from, Tom from Filament Frenzy.
Were we talking about that?
Yeah, we were talking about that.
We were? Okay.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That was the reason why I added this right here. So they were using pictures from him to advertise their printer, which would have been kind of Okay.
Dude, no, there's no.
Well, let's put it this way.
Yes.
Let's put it this way. They have been using pictures from him that he made and from parts that weren't even printed on the Artillery 3D printer.
Yeah.
And that was just bad because they didn't ask him and the parts weren't even printed on their machine. So why use them for advertisement? So I put this in there because at least, well, they heard that they did something kind of wrong and the community wasn't happy with that. They reached out to him. They at least sent him one of their printers as kind of a Wiedergutmachung. How do you say in English?
Reimbursement.
Reimbursement, which still is not making it right what they did in the first place, but at least I think it's kind of a nice move from them to get him one of their 3D printers that in the future he can use it and kind of
True. And Tom is like, okay, it's fine, we've settled this, it's all right. That's between him and Artillery, though what I still kind of want to point out is that's something that these two parties kind of settled on, but still Artillery 3D has been misleading everyone and not just Tom. He's the one who's, I guess, intellectual property, if you want to call it that. Well, it is his photos, right?
Yeah.
His stuff has been used, but overall, everyone looking into these printers has been misled by his photos being on the wrong product.
No.
So that's kind of something I think Artillery still owes to the community to at least not do it again. And I think as a community, we should still be pointing out these things and not just be saying, oh yeah, please, just send the guy a printer and it's fine. You can use whatever pictures you want.
No, totally right there.
Yes. Speaking of cheap 3D printers from China, Gearbest has, leaked? No, leaked is the wrong word. Has
they had a data
published.
Leak. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Go on.
Yeah. So it was found that Gearbest had like databases with customer data just open on the internet, and someone was able to rip all the data and to access names, addresses, orders, passwords apparently as well, though I'm hoping those were at least hashed. So fairly bad security practices by Gearbest. Not that I would be surprised, but just saying, if you have a Gearbest account, it might be worth checking on haveibeenpwned.com whether your username is part of that leak. If it is, change your passwords and keep an eye out for suspicious activity that might involve the data that was leaked, published by Gearbest.
Yeah.
In this event, I guess. Yeah.
I just checked a couple of, before the show. I still need to check if this is the email address I was using at Gearbest. So my data wasn't in there, which I'm quite happy for. But they are a really big Chinese seller of all different goods. And
if you're
they
listening
have
to
many
this
customers.
podcast, you know who Gearbest is. Yeah.
Probably many of you have already been purchasing something there.
Or at least seeing Gearbest being advertised.
Yeah. But this is just another point in a couple of things that happened with Gearbest over the last couple of months and years, which is making them less and less, attractive.
Here's the thing, though. I'm not a huge fan of Gearbest. Though, you have to put it into perspective. I don't think Gearbest as a single company is kind of a black sheep here. What I've been seeing over the last few years is that there's simply different business practices being practiced when it comes to Asia, China, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, versus what we're used to in like the Western world, Europe and the US. And Gearbest is not, Gearbest is not like doing anything differently or worse than many of the other sellers that you see. When you look at platforms like AliExpress, you maybe deal with a single seller once or twice, and then it gets lost in noise, basically. On Gearbest, you just have that one single big seller that actually sells products themselves. So they tend to kind of accumulate feedback about them, and negative feedback, of course, sticks pretty well. So I think that they're just one single lighthouse spotlight. They're just one of the companies where I actually see kind of all the things behind the scenes and see a lot of things that you might not agree with. But again, it's just I don't think they themselves see it as, okay, we're trying to be a bad company. It's just different practices that are common. So it's just you get what you pay for, right? You buy directly from a Chinese company, though I don't want to generalize, but you buy from a low cost Chinese company, and it's what you get. Not saying that it's bad. You just need to be aware of the implications. The implications it has.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, check your email address if you have an account at Gearbest at Have I Been Pwned. And yeah, as Tom already said, change your passwords if you are listed there.
Yeah, and I think that's like a general rule. Just change your passwords every now and then. It doesn't hurt.
How many accounts do you have? Do you really change passwords regularly?
Yeah, I've got like I think I have like 500 passwords stored in my password manager because I use random passwords on everything. I don't reuse passwords, which is a great practice.
Do you use the Google Password Manager, or do you have?
No. I'm not going to go into my security practices in detail here on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. One last thing in the news section as we hit the 1 hour mark. Quick update on Article 13 Article 13 and 11, which are the two kind of rough ones in the Europe or EU copyright reform. New comment from our all beloved Axel Voss, the guy who's basically Europe's, what's the FCC guy? Pajai something? The guy with a giant Reese's mug that everyone likes to hate on. Axel Voss is basically the equivalent of him. A new statement by him is basically, hey, if YouTube is like a platform that enables copyright infringement, then that platform probably shouldn't exist. So,
he has actually, I think, been stating that YouTube is basically based on copyright infringement.
Oh, yeah.
If a copyright infringement wouldn't be possible, there won't be any YouTube. So,
though the thing he also does not understand is he's rightfully saying so. Everything on YouTube is like copyright protected material that is uploaded there, so we need to stop it, which is correct, because every single piece of art and every single piece of content is copyright protected. But some people like me and you voluntarily upload their stuff to YouTube or to other platforms and say, hey, yeah, please share this in my name. Please distribute it. That is something that is a valid use case of these platforms. And yes, that there are quite serious implications if this copyright reform goes through. To protest this, Wikipedia Germany will actually go black on March 21st. I am seriously considering taking my entire channel offline for the day as well, because this could end my YouTube career, basically.
Yeah.
I will need to take my forum offline. There will be other things that we've not even seen coming yet that will just not be possible anymore. Please, guys, if you're in Europe at all, if you're in Germany, especially on March 23rd, there is the big day of demos and protests all over the country. Just go to one. It's you guys are listening to a podcast on the internet. Even this podcast might have to disappear because the platforms we're hosting it on might not be able to exist anymore. So it's something that you should all care about. Yeah. Don't let this happen.
Well said.
Yeah, March 23rd. I will be in Munich at the demo.
Perfect.
So, yes, if anyone wants to meet up there and go as a group and chat and hang out, you're welcome. Let me know on Twitter if you're going to be there.
No handshakes, though.
Yes. Backpats. Backpats exclusively.
You have suggested a really interesting topic of the week.
Yes. Get rich quick with 3D printing. Now with Stefan and Tom.
Since we both already are rich.
Oh yeah, we're swimming in cash. Are we? Are you? I'm not. Are you though?
All that Gearbest money.
Oh yeah, shit. Oh yeah.
but that's just the part of the story.
Don't get me riled up on that because I could actually be rich.
Yeah,
but I'm not.
Maybe let's go into that topic for the moment. So you've been suggesting business opportunities with 3D printing and making, and that does not only involve being a YouTuber and sharing your content there and earning a couple of bucks there. It's everything.
Don't call us YouTubers, we're influencers, man.
Oh yeah, creators.
We're KOL, key online leaders. That has become my new favorite business line.
Okay, haven't heard that so far. Yeah. So there are many possibilities you can make money with 3D printing, and a couple of years ago, something really common was you have a 3D printer at home, you print parts for other people, and you earn a couple of bucks. At that time, 3D Hubs was still around and many were using it. I think you also have been on there.
I have a few printers listed for a while, but yeah, mixed results with that. But before 3D Hubs, actually, one of the core ideas of the RepRap project was you get one part for yourself and you print two more. You print one for yourself for spares, and you print one to give away, or two to give away, depending on which interpretation you look at. And giveaway, of course, turns into you sell it on eBay. That was a genuine way of making money off of 3D printers in the early days. Now there's like no margin left because, of course, more people are pushing into it. But yeah, back then, like a set of Prusa i3 parts, or Prusa i2 parts, I guess, were being sold for like 120 euros.
Mm.
Mediocre print quality. So that's a pretty good margin, I'd say. That's something you can definitely make a few bucks.
And I actually know a couple of people who, made quite some money there. Just take a look at the time when fidget spinners were all around, and one guy at the school had a 3D printer and was printing fidget spinners for everybody and earning quite a bit of money. So I actually made a video on how to quote 3D prints like 1.5 years ago or something like that. Which, because I also had the need to calculate the cost for a 3D print I wanted to sell, and I just thought, okay, it's an interesting topic, share it there. And I still regularly get comments on that video on, oh, what is the best method to make money with 3D printing? And in my opinion, if you have a 3D printer at home, it's too late. In my opinion, there are rarely any cases still around where you can still make like tons of money with your own semi-professional or hobby 3D printer, because
it's almost like the gold rush kind of scenario. Not the one who goes out digging for gold or panning for gold is the one who gets rich, but the one who's selling the shovels. Is that's the saying, right? That's something. Yeah. So if you get a 3D printer now, probably selling parts or selling printed parts, especially on eBay, again, it's going to be so much work. Unless you have literally nothing better to do with your time, then it's probably not worth it. So 3D Hubs. 3D Hubs has recently, few months ago, done a pretty drastic change. So they used to be open for anyone to just list their printer and their materials and what they could handle and let them get jobs in through their platform. But now 3D Hubs requires their hubs, their print providers to be an actual business. Everyone needs a VAT ID, which means you have to be a business and not just a small business. You have to be a business that pays value-added tax on your sales. So that's something that you can do as a business, and I don't think it makes sense to register a business just to be in 3D Hubs, at least at this moment. I actually also don't think they're taking applications at the moment for new hubs. I think they're saying, hey, we're good, we're full.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
About a year ago, I did try out 3D Hubs. I did list a few printers with PLA and ABS and all those. But I priced my prints, to a point where I'm like, okay, if I get a print that is crazy and that takes a ton of effort, then the price I'm charging caters to that and covers that. And as it turned out, because I was charging rather high prices, people were giving me those crazy prints, and almost all of them were too crazy to print. They either required, full encasement in PVA, dissolvable support material, or we're trying to do like super fine details that he physically can't do on an FDM printer. So 3D Hubs for me is still either you go in cheap and you just go through volume and you have a super optimized process for printing things, or you just don't do it.
Yeah, same with me. So it's too common at the moment. Everyone can buy him or herself an Ender 3 for $200 and also make pretty decent prints.
Yeah,
if they are able to create a design, they should also be able to handle a 3D printer.
What do you mean?
I mean, if you can use a CAD software, you should also be able to use a 3D printer. Like,
yeah, okay. I see what you mean. You don't mean people buying a printer and then offering it. You mean people who design things and need 3D prints
do it just on their own.
A 3D printer. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is nothing really that anybody should be doing at the moment. There's still some rare cases where this does make sense, but most of the time, as you have also already said, it just doesn't really make sense anymore. Another opportunity: design your own parts and put them on My Mini Factory. My Mini Factory has been establishing to a platform that, same as Thingiverse, can be used to share your own designs, but also, you are also able to sell them there. So you can make money with the designs you put on there. And there are some really nice designs for figurines, but also mechanical parts that you can purchase there. And I think it's totally fine to charge for one of your designs.
Yeah, if your design is unique and not just something you downloaded and re-uploaded, then yeah, it's art after all. It's considering if the amount of time and material, etc., you spending on a print. If you want something unique, something nice, something functional, I don't know. There's a bunch of different designs on My Mini Factory and other platforms. Spending $1 here or there is totally fine. By the way, My Mini Factory is one of them. There's also, for example, Gumroad, which Angus uses to sell his stuff. Yeah.
And
that's something you can do.
And I think it's good that people can charge money for their designs there, because it kind of motivates them to spend more time on designs, because they get something for the time they are spending. So you end up with unique 3D printable designs that probably wouldn't have been there if they would not have been able to make money with it in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that's like the entire reason why My Manufacturer exists and why they have like designers on site, etc.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I have never charged for design. I don't think I ever will, simply because of Patreon support and because there are people already supporting my work. So I tend to give everything away, including like the speaker design and stuff. It's just going to go up for free. But not everyone is in that very fortunate position, to be completely honest here, to have people directly supporting you just for the work overall you do. So that's design. So not only can that be like, here's a cool vase or here's a cool statuette that you can print, but also functional stuff. That's something where I think having a good quality design matters a lot. Funnily enough, now that I'm thinking about it, the like top rated accessories and functional stuff print on Thingiverse is still that battery holder that has like the A+ or A2 or something on it, which literally does not work. You fill it up with batteries and it jams. You take one out, none come out. It's a non-functional print, but because it looks cool, it's the top ranked.
So guys, make a better design and maybe you can get a couple of bucks from that.
Yeah, you can see people are totally interested in having a battery holder. I would be too. So that could be something to start with.
Next point on the list. I've put, well, since I'm also an engineer in kind of the 3D printing industry, you can get a job in the 3D printing industry and earn your money there. 3D printing has been becoming a tool that is more and more used in the industry, not only for really manufacturing parts, but also for manufacturing jigs and tools for internal processes in companies. And there are, there are usually job openings available in different companies who are tackling that problem and who are looking for people who have lots of experience in that regard.
Yeah. And this is specifically in contrast to being self-employed and trying to offer out consulting services or other stuff. This is actually going to a company and working for them, being full-time employed. Though I guess that does come with a little bit of a disclaimer. Just because you bought yourself a 3D printer doesn't mean you can, like,
no,
be the head of the head of additive manufacturing for whatever company.
No,
unless you're like really good at selling yourself. I'm not taking that out of the question. But if you, I guess it's also imposter syndrome in a bit. People probably know more than they think they do if they reach a certain level of knowledge. But yeah, you do need a bit of in-depth knowledge about why certain things work the way they do to actually, be a good fit and to qualify for working as an additive specialist.
Well said. The next point is kind of well connected to especially you and me, at least.
You're getting there.
A little bit. I'm getting there. Making money with 3D printing via YouTube. This is a huge topic, and I have already been thinking about, dedicating a special topic of the week for, is it still worth starting a 3D printing YouTube channel? But I
mean, you can shill on any platform you want, whether it's YouTube or a blog or Twitter, as long as you dump enough affiliate links on there, it's sure.
Yeah. So YouTube or any other platform, yes, it is still a way to earn money with 3D printing. You're doing that. I'm doing that for part of my income. We are mostly earning it with our views, our Patreons, and not only with affiliate links. So there are kind of two ways how you can earn money on YouTube with 3D printing. One is creating good content and getting a little bit paid by YouTube, and you have your Patreons. And the other way, which is I don't really like that, but just doing reviews and praising every 3D printer and anything which is connected there, shilling and making tons of money with affiliate sales.
Though, okay, here's the thing. That does work in a few instances. And there's a fine line to walk where people are going to believe you and where they're just going to go like, well, dude, especially as it becomes more well known that, hey, if people actually buy this stuff through the links, then you do get with Gearbest like 10-15% of the revenue. So I think that's what we both have been doing on YouTube, is to build value first, to have content that people actually care about and that's not just being pushed in their face, and to build trust. So that's that first phase that actually doesn't pay a lot. Just gonna say it. YouTube is gonna be a rough start, unless you immediately land like a viral video, which is kind of random. You don't have a lot of control over that. And yeah, but I think that's the more solid way of going about it, is putting value, as in guides, as in what you're doing, investigations into, okay, threaded inserts, into what is the best way to use infill on this part, et cetera, to put that out there. And then that's also what people are going to reward with patron support, because if you just go out there and review one printer after the other and go like, oh yeah, this is best one, I take out the box and it prints, fantastic machine, 10 out of 10, please buy with a Gearbest link. If you just do that, by the way, I wasn't doing any specific accent there, this was just random shill voice. If you're just doing that, then yeah, you might get like 10 or 15,000 views on your first Ender 3 unboxing, but that's going to be it. Like there's no continuation of that. The next channel is going to come around and do the same thing, and they're going to get the views now. So yeah, that's a rather slow process to actually build a channel.
Yeah,
for me, it took 5 years to get to where I'm now.
Yeah, and you still started at a time when there weren't that many other channels around. Even though the content you made there and still today is great and it really is adding value to the community. I think at the moment, if you start a random 3D printing channel and do the same thing as 1,000 other ones are doing, it's gonna be hard, and probably you won't get there. You won't get to the point where it's really rewarding. But if you find your niche, and if you're doing things differently or better than other ones, it's still a way to go, and it's still possible to earn your living with YouTube, even though it might be a rough start and you won't be able to support you in the end.
Yeah, sure. The niche approach is definitely the one that is a bit more risky, I guess. But in the long, well, I don't want to say more risky, but it's not going to have that immediate payoff. But as we've seen with weird niche channels like What's Inside or the Hydraulic Press channel, or just lock picking channels, just doing one topic really well that nobody has done before, that is kind of that can take off if you really master that recipe.
Well, I am actually kind of in the same position. If I would have just done 3D printer reviews and printing fidget spinners and stuff like that, I wouldn't be at the point where I am now. I found for myself the niche for like engineering, 3D printing, material tests and things like these, which still at the moment you are kind of the only other YouTuber who's doing tests and investigations in kind of a similar way. And this enabled me to grow to the point where I am today. If I would not have done that, I am quite sure that I wouldn't be doing YouTube at the moment.
Yeah. Cool. But that is a topic that we can talk about for hours, obviously. Yeah. One thing that you probably should not do, and that nobody should have ever done, I think, well, some people were right about it, is to kickstart a 3D printer. It's the most beloved topic of, hey, make money quick when it comes to 3D printing. Everyone seems to do it. and at least now it's like it's a recipe for disaster. It's an absolute recipe for disaster because you're just competing for the lowest price, and typically Kickstarters are not a you lose money with a Kickstarter. You don't make any money out of all the sales, and then you actually go into the phase where you earn some stuff if your business then still exists. So right now, kickstarting a printer, unless it's like super unique and super progressive new features, whatever. And even then, it is so much work to get that not just built. Of course, building one is easy, but building 1,500 of the same thing reliably, that's quite a challenge. That is not an easy feat. And then doing logistics, then doing certifications so you can actually sell the damn thing. Especially in Europe with CE and what's the other stuff? Yeah, FCC in the US. All the emissions. Most Kickstarter 3D printers are not legal to, I don't want to say sell because it's in Verkehr bringen, technically. It's to bring into circulation. So yeah, designing a physical product that is more than just, I don't know, an herb grinder that you print or mill somewhere. An actual electronic device, there's so much attached to it, just from an engineering standpoint, from a business standpoint, and from a what was the last one? Whatever. There's so much involved in it. Don't do it. However, what you can do if you have the time to start a business that actually has a product is you can get into filament branding. A lot of companies these days that are offering filaments have possibly never even seen their own filament. Here's the thing, because many companies now offer like a full white label program where you just call up the rep of the company, you say, hey, you guys are making filament, right? They go, yeah, sure, what would you like? And they have support with like designing your packaging, support you with picking colors, materials. You can ship it off to Amazon fulfillment directly. You never have to touch a spool of filament. You don't have to do any QA. You just get the same filament everyone else has. You put your label on it, you market it, and there you go. Easy.
So why haven't you started yet?
No, seriously. I've thought about doing this as well. It's just, it's a bit of work to get it all started, but it's like it's a very low risk thing you can do. Hit up MCPP if you're interested in that. All the info on that is actually on their website. Yeah, that's what many of the filament brands are these days, and there's really not a lot involved in it.
Yeah, but still, since the competition over the last years grew and grew, you have to do quite good marketing to make a substantial. Make substantial money from that. So I don't really recommend that everyone is now running out, contacting MCPP and making their own filament labels.
But I mean, if you're looking for something to do, that could be a niche or an opportunity you can get into.
Yeah. All right. I think that concludes this. If you guys have any other great ideas how to make money with 3D printing, put them down in the comments. I'm happy to hear them.
The get rich phase is definitely over.
Yeah.
It's get like average wealthy in a long time.
Neither me than you, since we are both earning our money with 3D printing, drive a Ferrari or live in our own mansion. So
no, I drive a used almost 200,000 kilometer car. Like, sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, earning money is a huge topic. Not everyone is comfortable talking about it. I'm just going to end it at, hey, it's taken me like 3 years of full-time YouTubing, trying to do a good job, trying to add value, trying to provide value out there. And I'm at the point where I'm making as much as if I had just stayed in my job.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I still didn't go full time, and probably won't be doing it in the future. I'm gonna go part-time in a couple of weeks, but not full-time.
Yeah, well, for you, part-time is like a bit of time extra,
maybe,
for doing YouTube. Yeah. All right. So I guess next time we're going to be seeing each other is on the way to MRRF. So next episode of the podcast will also be recorded there. I hope if we still have voices. Of course, that's a requirement. And with that, I would say, what do we say? Subscribe on Apple Podcasts?
Oh yeah, I totally forgot to say that in the beginning. We have been on iTunes forever, but we are now also listed on Google Podcast and Spotify. So if you guys have Spotify, you can find us there, and you can download and stream our podcast from Spotify. There are also 2 more platforms coming up, but I didn't get any response so far. But I think Spotify was the most requested platform that we haven't been on.
Google Podcast is still a bit buggy, right? Where you actually have to download the episode streaming. For some reason, doesn't work through Google Podcast. So just hit download and it's going to play.
Yep.
Sweet. All right, Stefan, then I'd say thanks for taking the time, and thank you all for watching or listening, and we will see you all in the next one.
Yeah. Bye.
Goodbye.